All right, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Shreveport Sports. We love him. He's. If you see the conversion van flying around the streets of Shreveport, wave at him. If you can get his attention. He is Timmy B, Tim Brando from Fox Sports, who's joining us. Timmy, what's up, my friend?
Hello, Patrick. Good to talk to you. How are you?
Man, I am fantastic. Everything is good. It's not golfing weather, unfortunately. So, that's the only bad thing really that's going on right now.
It's just going to cool things off so we can play soon.
There you go.
Hey, you're in tall company today. I'm going to be on Feinbaum in about 45 minutes, I guess.
Very nice.
So, you're the Feinbaum. You're the Feinbaum of Shreveport. So
yeah,
why not?
Right. Except I have 0 callers at any point in time during this show. That's the only real difference.
Which I think is an asset.
No, probably.
Actually,
probably. It probably is. Timmy, we had Brett McMurphy on yesterday because he came out with a report a couple of days ago basically saying that his sources are telling him, and of course we called him sources for a reason, his sources are telling him that the Pac-12 is going to replace the SEC in the Indy Bowl's slotting to go against the ACC. We had him on because the Indy Bowl folks, Art Carmody, who's great, he was on with Fletcher yesterday morning and basically said, no, that's not where we're at. Nothing's signed. And we had Brett on. Brett said, no, nothing's signed as of this point. He said, but if you use your deductive reasoning and with my sources saying the Pac-12 wants to play a Power 5 and the only bowl game that has a slot open against a Power 5 is the Indy Bowl, he said, it doesn't take much to put 2 and 2 together. My question, though, Tim, is if this happens, and we know that the SEC's already announced their bowl allotment, the Indy Bowl's out, they're not on the rotation, is the Pac-12 the proper play for the Indy Bowl to go to?
I'm not sure that it's the proper play. It's a good play. I don't think that it's a bad play. I understand where Brett's coming from, and if I were viewing it from his prism, I would probably say the same thing. But from the Independence Bowl's point of view, from the community's point of view, and that's kind of where I want to go a little bit with this.
Yeah.
Is where's the coverage? Where's the interest? This should be a hot button topic on all the sportscasts, wherever there are sportscasts in our town. And I haven't seen much about it.
Yeah, and I wonder, Tim, how much of that is because nothing has been announced, nothing has been signed.
Well, but there was a time, was there not, when having an association with the SEC was deemed a big deal?
Mm-hmm.
It's gone now. To me, there are a lot of questions that this should bring up if you're a forward-thinking, progressive person from our community. Listen, I understand why the fan base, particularly the local fan base, may be saying, well, who gives a flip? The SEC in the pecking order had the Independence Bowl so far down they could only deliver a team about half the time.
Yeah.
And when they did, most likely the coach was either fired or on the hot seat, or the fans were so pissed they weren't going to follow the team. So I get that part of it. But there was a time when the game garnered enough interest that anytime there was any movement or news with regard to where the bowl game was headed, it became a hot-button issue in the media. Sometimes, in the local media, you might see the sportscaster do the lead story,
Yeah.
when there was an Independence Bowl decision being made. I'm frankly a little bit concerned about the apathy in the marketplace here. As someone that loves and cares deeply about the game and wants to see it continue to do well, and have certainly let the people that are in governance with the bowl know that time and time again, there are several issues out there, in my opinion, that the bowl game needs to address. And I've let a few people know of my interest in that. No one seems to want to know what I think. And that's another thing that's kind of troubling to me is that used to matter. Well, Tim, what do you think? I'm not even getting questions about what do you think. It's not even out there.
Right.
So maybe it's just a sign of the times. Maybe it's the disjointed nature of the postseason of college football being what it is, and the bowl system being so convoluted now that, well, they're going to get two teams in the championship playoffs every year, so if you got 10, we're never going to get a team anyway. Maybe it's all about that, but there was a time when saying that the SEC was tied to a bowl game in our town was a big deal, and it was a bigger deal elsewhere than it was here, yesterday.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah, and it no doubt. I'm curious, Tim, because I don't think you've spoken to anyone. I haven't spoken to anyone. I mean, I don't think either of us has any sort of inside knowledge, but I'm curious where you think Walk-Ons falls in all of this, because this is a rapidly expanding brand. They're moving. They have expanded as rapidly as any restaurant I've ever seen in my lifetime. And I'm curious, do you think they want a more regional team, a Sun Belt Conference USA type squad, or do you think they like the idea of bringing in a more national Power 5 type brand and maybe using it as an expansion to the West?
I don't think the Sun Belt or Conference USA isn't any interest to them. You left out the American Conference.
Sure,
which I think
American, yeah, absolutely.
Is one that makes which I think would be a big splash, and would be if Art Carmody is saying that there's no deal yet with the Pac-12 and there might be something better out there. I think, for one, no one's asked my opinion. I mean, no one. But
I'm asking your opinion now, Timmy.
I will give it to you right now. I'd make the deal with the American Conference because you've got teams of regional interest that are building their programs that have huge fan bases. Now, some of them obviously want to go Power 5. We've all heard that story with UCF and South Florida to some extent. We remember the courtship with the Big 12, but that didn't work out. But that conference now has a new $1 billion TV deal that Mike Oresco, our friend, and a guy that I worked with for many years, both at ESPN and at CBS, now the commissioner of the American. I mean, that deal by far and away puts that conference of the group of 5 in a separate position.
Yeah, they're kind of 5.5 right now.
Yeah, it's like 5.5.
Yeah.
I would say it's a stronger conference than the Pac-12 right now, without a doubt. It's a stronger conference top to bottom than the Pac-12 right now. I mean, the Pac-12 with Oregon as a potential juggernaut this year, but after that, just a lot of mediocrity to bad teams. I know I saw a lot of them last year.
Right.
But here you have teams like Memphis, like Houston, UCF, USF, teams that have could get their fans here. There would be a lot of regional interest, and they are drawing good crowds in their home stadiums. If they're not keeping up with that, then you're not keeping up with the totality of college football. And some of the other teams obviously are from the further in the Northeast, but still there are teams that do have great regional interest and potentially would love the opportunity to play an ACC squad. I'd make a case that the American last year was actually better than the ACC, frankly. The league was bad after Clemson. What did you really have? So I think the intent for the American would be great to come and play in the game. The other issue the game has, Patrick, is the date.
Yeah, no doubt.
And
it's not their fault. I mean, it's
not their fault.
No.
ESPN is only going to put the games of the greater interest in the best time slots because of the payout in this game being what it is. And by the way, there are some with less payout that have better times. But remember this, ESPN owns 8 bowl games. I think at last count they own 8. Those are generally going to get a better shake from ESPN because ESPN owns them.
It's in their best interest.
It's in their best interest.
Yeah.
So, where does Walk-Ons fit into this? If they're really happy, and I would listen, their largest franchisee is my next door neighbor. Chris McJunkins lives next door to me. He's got, I think, 8 stores. Just opened one in West Monroe, and he's got several in Arkansas. So I know he's busy. I know they're doing well. But if being on ESPN means that much to them that they're okay with a noon game or a 3:30 game on the day after Christmas, then good for them. They're paying the freight. They're the bowl sponsor. They should be be excited about it. but the game will only do so much at the gate at that time. And you're only going to get so much support from fan bases flying into the Shreveport-Bossier area when the game is going to be played on December 26th at that time.
Yeah.
That's where ESPN is going to put the game. And if you want to get a better time, the only way you can leverage another network is with what? Another network. So until they are to a point where they feel like they want to negotiate and get a better time and better situation for the locals to come to the game and maybe even for fans to follow their respective teams to the game, then they're going to be stuck right where they are with regard to the date and time of the game.
Talking to Tim Brando from Fox Sports. Timmy, the only real issue I have with the American being opposite the Atlantic Coast Conference is just the letters. I don't want to say AAC, ACC back and forth all the time. That's too much. I'm not that good of a broadcaster to be able to pull that off repeatedly. That's my only real issue. Timmy, I'm curious because we're seeing and we talked with Brett about this yesterday. We're seeing somewhat of a changing of the guard in terms of leadership at the highest levels of college football. We saw the new commissioner of the Big Ten. You're seeing female commissioner in there. I mean, it seems like, Timmy, we're seeing maybe college athletics start to be more representative of the college universities as a whole. You mean with regard to the upper leadership? Jim Delaney gets replaced by an African American. You have Judy McLeod is now in at Conference USA. I mean, it's all of this you're seeing the changing of the guard in terms of representation. It's not just a bunch of old white guys anymore. And it feels like that's good because it's more representative of college athletics as a whole.
Yeah. No, it's a very progressive move, and a very good move. Both very talented executives that have every opportunity and right to be where they are. Warren, I've met a couple of times in happenstance just covering NFL games, to be honest. Don't know him as well as some others do. I do know he was a protege of Slive, and he's someone that Jim Delaney certainly signed off on, which means a great deal. There needs to be, there's no denying, proportional numbers being what they are with regard to those that are playing the game versus those that are governing the game. It wasn't just true with the Black Coaches Association. And you remember back in the day when I was doing our show and you and Rogers were listening in, how many times people got tired of me talking about how few minorities were getting opportunities. Well, that's still the case. Those numbers really haven't changed that much from a coaching standpoint. They're beginning to change, though, at the level above that, which I think is a good thing. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I also believe that bringing in Warren and with Delaney leaving, the Big Ten is in such a powerful position financially that you can just rest assured that the movement towards expanding the playoff to 8 teams is only going to get jettisoned with this happening, both with Jim leaving, and I think Jim knows what the presidents of the Big Ten now want and feel that they deserve, having been left out of 3 consecutive college football playoffs. There's no denying they want that, and I think there's movement afoot elsewhere, not just in the Big Ten, but elsewhere to get it up to 8. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if it didn't happen, not at the end of not this season, but they look at it every 3 years contractually. And I think there's a very good chance that we can see the potential of going to 8 teams before the end of the current TV contract that's signed through 2025. How about that? I'll tell you, I believe it'll happen prior to 2025.
Yeah, and by the way, McMurphy said he thought it wouldn't happen until after 2025, or at least that often. So I hope you're right. Because obviously, I've been pro 8-team playoffs since the beginning.
Yeah.
You
got to remember. You got to remember Brett, like Rachel Denich and a few others that are reporters out there. They're talking to these people and they lie.
Yeah.
they're talking to the exec. These are the people that said they'd never have a playoff,
right?
And yet
Playoffs
their office
evil.
now is named a playoff office.
Yeah.
So they, as reporters, they've got to do their jobs. But I talk to people, newsmakers, not as a reporter, but as someone that just understands the game, and they say things to me that they would never say to a reporter like Brett McMurphy. And I believe that this will happen, and I believe it will happen prior to 2025. It makes no sense for them to stay at 4 right now when they can look at it and make changes and adjustments in the contract. Frankly, if they want to keep it at 4, good, because it'll suck. It'll continue to suck. And then when it goes up for bidding, maybe the network I work for have a better chance of getting it.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Timmy, as always, a pleasure, my friend. Hit them long and straight. Let's tee it up soon, and hopefully everything that happens here in the off season will go your way. I know your tan's good right now. I've seen the pictures, so yeah, I know you're looking good.
Hey, tell Warhawk Wednesday Raj that things are looking good there off Bayou Desert. It's going great.
Yeah,
in the land of the Warhawk.
Well, I told y'all from the beginning, Viator is a hell of a coach. I saw him long enough at McNeese, so you got yourself a good one, and it looks like the administration's finally following suit as well.
No question. Scott McDonald's done a nice job since he stepped in as AD, and good things are coming. And I'm going to be on hand in a lot of the Hall of Fame activities this weekend, so if anybody has a chance to come over a little bit early on Saturday, we've got a gathering, a little round table with all of the inductees. It's a new event. I know you talked to Ronnie Rance about it.
Yep.
And I'm thrilled to be a part of it. And if you want to take part in the Cane River Festival, it's fun on Friday night with fireworks, feel free, and I'll be there on Saturday. So
beautiful.
Les Miles is coming. So is the Manning family. It's going to be quite a treat.
Going to be a heck of a weekend. There's no doubt about it. Timmy, enjoy yourself, brother.
Okay, man. Bye-bye.
All right, Timmy B joining us, as always, fantastic.